Lindsay from Me A Latte, Maria from Filar, and Alison from Allie the Unicorn. And of course, you know me, Tanya from 10,000 Days of Gratitude. We have done these questions individually on our own channels, and we have done them together on group calls on each of my collaborators' channels. And then in each set, we've also had a sharing question. I will link the entire playlist that includes everybody's videos above, so that if you're just tuning in now, you can go back and see the whole process. And do make sure to go over and subscribe to my collaborators' channels.
Okay, the first question is, do you think the project was a success in terms of developing interpersonal closeness between us? Why? I think it was a success. This project started and none of us really knew each other. Besides Tanya, we had already been Instagram friends, but Allie and Lindsay, I didn't know at all. And after the first group call, I found myself already looking forward to the next one because I enjoyed speaking with everyone so much and just hanging out. And I definitely feel like you're all my friends now. Knowing more about you and listening to your answers, I was genuinely excited and looked forward to seeing what everyone's responses were going to be. Kind of sad it's over because I like to I like to hear stuff like that. So I'll just watch everyone's videos now with a renewed sense of like I have personal interest in each of you more than I did before because now we're friends and we know each other more intimately. So I think this project was definitely successful in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was successful as well. I'm sorry, Cooper is demanding attention, and when your cat demands attention, you cannot.
I know.
Cat.
I know.
They do not allow you to ignore that. So he's just got to be chilling here with me. But I think it was successful as well because, like Maria said, we started off and we were complete strangers, and then we started to get to know each other a little better. Even like before we would start the videos, we could just like, it wasn't awkward or anything. We could just chat and joke around and just like talk about things. So I think it was successful as well. So I think it was a good time. It was a really good time.
Yeah, so I agree. Like we started off as strangers. I think I saw like some of your guys' comments and I kind of had like a somewhat of a reaction to those. Some of your comments like on Frank James's channels, like I thought some of them were like really funny because some of you guys like to poke fun at FJ like I do. And some of them were really like thoughtful and insightful, but at the same time, it's like, I don't really know you. I can just base you based off of a comment. It seems okay, these comments are kind of cool, but we're strangers to me. And now I agree with Maria. I feel like we're all friends now, which is great. I think that, yes, I found too, like, even from the first call, I felt like it was really easy to talk to all of you, which is great because that's not something that I find I do very easily. And I thought that this format was also great, like the Zoom calls and the individual videos all together. I thought that was great, especially during the quarantine, right? Because we're not really able to go out and see other people. So being able to make connections with other people over, Zoom call, over the internet was really great. I'm really glad to have met you guys and to be friends with you all.
It's funny. What do we all have in common? We all like to make fun of someone on YouTube. It's all with respect. We all respect him.
Well, for me, I knew a little bit more about you guys than maybe you knew about me because I went and sought you out. We all came together because I found you through Frank James's channel, the College of Tuber Studies. And I was looking for people who would, well, first of all, who had a similar sort of number of subscribers so that there might be something in it for them to do it. Because, trying to convince people to spend 6.5 weeks on a project is a little difficult. And also people who were already making talking, head and shoulder videos, that they were comfortable talking to the camera, because Frank has lots of subscribers who make great videos, but you know, some of them are animation, or there's one that's of visual poetry, and they don't want to be on screen. They don't want to be on screen, so it doesn't really lend itself to that. So I had a little bit of an idea of each of you beforehand, but you really changed my minds about a lot of things. So I think that was successful in terms of developing closeness. And yes, Lindsay, I cannot agree more. The Zoom calls made this project, and I really appreciate, I think it was yourself and Alison that came up with that idea, and especially for the times, because Zoom is like, you know, going to go down in 2020 history as, you know, probably the most successful business. So thank you so much for that contribution. It just made the whole project for me. And yes, I think we're all friends now, and it's lovely. And I'm going to miss this. I'm going to actually really miss meeting up with you guys.
We can still do Zoom parties.
Yeah, we can.
I agree.
Yeah, we can.
And let's do it.
Yeah.
Our second question is, what worked well about this project? So I think what really, really worked is sort of how the number of people involved. Like, there's 4 of us. It kept things fairly simple, and yet there was enough diversity there, because we're all different people, to make it interesting. So I think definitely we had a good number of people. I think the Zoom meetings were definitely a good call, in addition to just answering it on our own, because then we have an opportunity just to be on our own and to, you know, talk directly to the viewers about, hey, this is how I answer the question, and then, you know, go and listen to each other. And then I also think that doing the Zoom videos where we can actually interact was incredibly, incredibly important, because if we didn't do these Zoom videos, we'd just be watching each other's videos and commenting. There wouldn't really be any interpersonal interaction. So I think the Zoom videos worked really, really well with that. And I think just lessening the amount of questions as well, like shortening it to 18 rather than doing the full 36, I think was a good idea. I think that was a good call. I know that was Tanya. Tanya's the one who pretty much orchestrated everything here. She, you know, she was the planner. She's like, I got this. And we're just like, yeah, go you. So those are some things that I think worked really, really well for this particular project.
In a way, I think that it worked really well that we had in the beginning something already in common. I know that in arthuraron's research, he took a class. So they were all studying a certain subject, and he took classmates. And so in a sense, we were all classmates in the College of Tuber Studies. So we all had something in common to begin with, and, you know, something to make us feel a little bit more comfortable that we had cohesion.
Yeah, so I'll speak a little bit to the organizational side of things. So for have never done this type of thing before, I thought we did a really great job of being organized, guys. Like, we need to pat ourselves on the back for that one. We all were great with giving like lots of notice before the times of our meetings. We were able to send out the links right away. The organization of the questions, having, you know, the questions laid out in a Google Doc was also super helpful. And yeah, I thought that we did really good overall with the organization. I think the project flowed well. And I also liked how the set of questions, I thought that they flowed fairly well as well. You know, it started not being as personal and got more personal as we moved forward. So overall, I thought we did great with the organizational structure of this project.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's clear to everyone that I'm not an organized, like, charts and graphs type of person. So when I first saw the Google Doc with like how things were going to be laid out, I basically was like, this is going over my head, but I trust that it will make sense. So let's just go with it. And as we started getting into it, I understood the process more and thought it was very helpful to have a solid plan, because I'm not good at that. I like to just throw caution to the wind and then have to re-correct my course like 8 times. So I liked the bit of structure that we had. I think that was definitely a good thing.
So our next question is, what didn't work? So I'm going to go back to arthuraron's original project. And actually the final question wasn't a question. It was to gaze into your partner's eyes for 4 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but I cannot gaze into somebody's eyes without feeling a really deep level of intimacy with them. And so I think that even though we get the impression of looking into one another's eyes when we look into the camera, actually looking into the camera means that I can't look at your face at the same time. And so to me, that's something that's really missing, is the eye contact that we have with one another. And you know, we just didn't do that question because it's physically impossible. So I wonder, you know, I didn't ask, did anybody fall in love? But sorry, I didn't. And I think that if we had gazed into each other's eyes in person, we would have had a much different and deeper experience. So there's something to be said for that. And there is limitation in my mind to what we can do over the internet. Secondly, I would say that because we were doing it for YouTube, there was a little bit of curation in the editing. Being more curated, we were more polished. And sometimes when people are pausing, it's nice to watch the changes in their face as they're thinking. Now, I pause a lot, so you would have to like spend 20 minutes in a video watching me, but I wonder what that would have been like for the viewers. And so I'm not sure if that worked or not. And also in the original experiment, they had 15 minutes for each question set, and we took 2 weeks. So I wonder about the intensity of that. And, you know, when you're in a lockdown situation or a hostage situation, you tend to bond really quickly. And I wonder if the intensity being dissipated in that way actually might have hindered our developing closer ties. It's impossible to know because we didn't do it the other way, but I just wonder.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's always going to be a level of curation when you're making content for the internet. I think I agree that it would be a good thing for people to see the pauses, but I know from experience, I'm not going to sit through a 35-minute video. Like, so there's just things that you have to do. And like you said, this whole experiment is really meant to be between 2 people in person across from each other. So the fact that it was curated on the internet, we were given a lot of time to think about our answers. We were able to film, even refilm if we needed to, if we didn't like the way that it went. So there's a lot of factors that were just never going to line up. I think for what we were able to accomplish, it was great, but it's comparing apples to oranges. It's 2 different situations, but I think we still made it work for our purposes.
Yeah, and another thing too, I think that we were able to kind of figure it out as we went along, but some of the questions I found, I didn't know if I truly understood it. And I know with our first sharing call, I completely didn't even know what we were really doing with that. Like I didn't know we were kept going back and forth. So I was really on the spot, which isn't like me. Like I like to have a plan. I like to be planned, have my stuff planned in advance. So and some of the questions, like, yeah, they were just the way that they were worded. It's like this, I feel like it could be up for interpretation, but I think that's also a good thing though. You know, like for example, when we were doing the first sharing question, it made it so that I had to really be like, okay, like I have to be on the spot more. And I think it's really good to challenge yourselves in those ways. And I think it's fine to interpret the questions differently because it's good to get different answers and different perspectives from people. And yeah, we were just able to kind of bounce off of each other as well, which I thought was good. I know I'm kind of taking the bad part and turning it into a positive, but hey, that's me.
Honestly, I can't really think of any. Like nothing in particular comes to mind, other than like a few technical blips here and there. But yeah, I really can't think of anything at this moment. So.
And our last question, what surprised you? All right, so what surprised me the most overall was just how open I was able to be. Even from the start, even though, at first we were all complete strangers, I found it really easy to talk to you. And it really surprised me though that I was able to open up so much because let's say this happened in like real life with strangers. Typically I'm not very open and I'm definitely more of a reserved person. But with this project, like I found that it was pretty easy for me to open up and also to answer the questions. Like some of the questions were definitely a little bit more difficult to answer, but I was surprised because I was able to do it and I was able to be really vulnerable and really show my emotions, which is really interesting because again, I'm not somebody that's always super emotional like in person with people. So yeah, I was very surprised that I was able to do all of this so easily.
For me, what surprised me, there were a couple of things. Like I said in the beginning, I was surprised how my impressions of people changed as we went along. They were all good impressions to begin with, but they changed to slightly different impressions. Like I really didn't get Lindsay's sense of humor in the beginning. Like it's not that I didn't get your sense of humor, it wasn't so far coming through in your videos. And so getting to know you better, that's something that I learned to appreciate about you. But more close to home, what surprised me was hearing the answers that I gave and wondering, if I say, I wish I could do this, well, then why don't I do it? And so I'm holding myself accountable and going back and listening to my answers and saying, all right, you said this, so go do this. I know that I recorded 3 cards on the question of, I wish I had someone to share my life with. And I had to go through that so much because everything I said, I went, nope, I don't really believe that anymore. Nope, nope, that's a lie. That's not true. Oh, And I did that live it was a nightmare to edit. But what surprised me was how hard it is to actually, even with yourself, be completely honest about what you really think. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like a lot of these questions required introspection and really looking within. And then sometimes, like you, Maria, what surprised me the most is how often I call Tanya Maria. And I don't know why it happens. I promise you it hasn't happened in a while, but it had to just pop back up again, to say goodbye. But anyway, but like Tanya, just how much, like even going back to some of my videos that I filmed and like looking back at them and thinking, was that the most honest answer I could have given, or was that like more of a cover up answer and there was something deeper that I didn't want to talk about? So I'm like, this, so it's true, this is what I want, but I'm not like I'm doing it like surface level, like not digging as deep. So just the sheer amount of vulnerability that is involved with some of these questions, and even going back and going, okay, do I actually believe this is actually a thing? So I think that was pretty surprising, definitely, and having to like sit there and think, wait a minute, how actually do I feel about this thing? What do I actually want people close to me to know? What would I actually grab in a fire? Just like, wait, how would I respond?
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. In some ways, I was not surprised by the way about my reaction because I struggle with speaking my mind without it coming out like a bunch of gobbledygook. So I was pleasantly surprised at how eloquent everyone was, and it when they were giving their answers, and it made me want to step up and really work on thinking about what I'm saying instead of just kind of like sitting there with my mouth like slack-jawed, like but yeah, like Tanya said, I was surprised at, for someone that's always harping on how much I love to overshare, sometimes I felt like my answers were pretty vanilla and I could have dug deeper. But knowing that it was going on the internet for anyone to see kind of held me back sometimes, which is completely against what this project is supposed to be. So for me, it was surprising to realize that even though I am such an overshare, I guess I'm still selective about it. And it's made me realize that I just want to work on basically my eloquence in expressing those thoughts, because you guys have all been very eloquent in your answers, I feel.
Thank you, ladies. And I really want to thank you so much for participating in the project, giving up your time, and sharing so honestly of yourselves. And now we want to turn it over to our viewers. What do you think? Did you think the project was a success? What do you think worked? What do you think didn't work? And what surprised you? Please make sure that you go over and check out my collaborators' channels. That's Lindsay from Love Me A Latte, Maria from Maria Filar, and Alison from Allie the Unicorn. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And if you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as I upload. Make sure you go over to each of my collaborators' channels and subscribe. Thanks for participating.
And now for the remaining video, we shall all sing a quartet reggae rendition of God Save the Queen. Here we go.